Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Forsyth County Connections, coming to you from the studios of Cable 2, courtesy of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System. We appreciate their hospitality as always. And we have a jam-packed half hour for you. And the first, I'm going to say roughly half of the show, we want to talk about something exciting called Forsyth Cares. And we're going to do it with two different individuals back to back. The first gentleman we have with a special guest is Jason Clodfelter. He's Forsyth County GIS coordinator and a great analyst. And we've been talking about your tech skills that I don't have, but you have. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
First of all, let's back up a second, because if people can see on your shirt, it says Map Forsyth. Remind us, what is Map Forsyth?
So Map Forsyth, we're the City County Geographic Information Office. So GIS, the term that we throw around, Geographic Information Systems, just simply a way to it's a kind of a whole system of people and data, hardware and software that we utilize to collect, store, and analyze any type of data elements.
All right, now that brings me to what I was plugging just a second ago, which is Forsyth Cares. What's that all about?
So Forsyth Cares is a new project that kind of was brought to us by the town of Kernersville Police Department. And CARES stands for the Community Assistance Registry for Emergency Services.
Okay.
So it allows citizens to voluntarily input information about themselves or a family member that may be critical for a first responder in the time of an emergency. Information about maybe their child is autistic and doesn't do well with certain verbal commands or things like that, or maybe there's information about an Alzheimer's or dementia patient in their family.
Which can be crucial in any situation, especially if there's a fire or some other kind of emergency.
True, and in a lot of cases, this information we feel would be beneficial for missing persons type situations.
That's
as well.
right. Now, going back to Map Forsyth, join this together. Why is Map Forsyth involved in this, and what role were you playing?
Okay, so the reason that I think that we were called in is our office already maintains and provides most of the map data and the addressing data that goes into the 911 communication centers across the county. And so we already had a well-established relationship with those communication centers and their staff, and the technology framework in place already to disseminate the uniform data across all agencies and jurisdictions.
Without talking too far over my head, which wouldn't be difficult, but what kind of technology, when you say technology, what's being used to accomplish this mission?
So again, we're utilizing various forms of GIS technology, both cloud-based and then on-premise servers. So for the collection of the data that the citizen would put in for the survey, and there's a creation of an interactive dashboard that would be used in the communication centers, that's using the cloud environment, a web-based environment.
Right.
But then we will be pulling the data down onto our local servers at the county that's behind the firewall, protected by county policy and that type of thing to more secure the data.
Yeah, now very quickly though, what about protecting the data that let's say I've given my information about my family or something in there, is it protected okay?
Yes, so once the citizen would supply the information, again, it's housed in a database in the cloud. And we have processes in place that will go and download that data from the cloud environment onto our secure servers at a minimum of on a daily basis.
Right.
And once it's downloaded, then it's deleted from that cloud environment. And again, it's on the secure side behind the firewall under the policies and procedures that the county MIS has in place to protect that data.
What about cost to implement the Forsyth Cares, and how is it funded?
So the good thing about this project is that it is very cost effective. The dashboard that I'm talking about, the interactive dashboard, requires a private account, if you will, an individual account, and those consume software licenses. So that's where the cost comes in. So in the case of Forsyth County, we were able to do this at a total cost of about $2,000.
Wow.
That was split between the Sheriff's Department as well as emergency services. So the other jurisdictions involved with the City of Winston-Salem and the town of Kernersville, to my knowledge, did not incur any additional cost because they already had additional licenses on hand.
That's just great. We're almost out of time, Jason. Just give me the website where folks can learn more. I think you were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, so you should be able to go to the county webpage, which is www.forsyth.cc, then /cares, and you should be able to get more information there.
Thanks for doing this. This is a great program. Come back and talk about it later, all right?
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see.
D-E-P-R.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale.
Bipolar?
Sorting out a mental health concern takes professional diagnosis and treatment.
Anxiety. I thought so.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
So, I keep hearing how things are getting back to normal. Really? When am I back to normal? What is normal anyway? I can't even remember. Is this normal? Seriously? No. Was this ever normal? Please. I think this used to be normal. Then I figured out, just stop it. So much has changed. No wonder nothing feels normal. But here I am, still standing, a brand new edition of me. This is no time to go back to anything. It's time to go forward and discover the new person I am now. I'm all in. For some great tips on finding your new normal, visit yourlifeyourvoice.org. You look familiar.
Back now on Forsyth County Connections, and as promised, we're going to sort of continue our conversation about Forsyth Cares. It's a very exciting and important program. We're going to help a lot of people. And to give us a different perspective on this, we turn to our special guest from Kernersville, Detective Dave Mundy. He's with the Kernersville Police Department. Welcome, and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
You sent me an email one day, which I thought was kind of intriguing, because I was going to start out anyway saying, well, you know, how did this thing get going? And you gave me an example of something that occurred, I guess, last year with an elderly citizen in Kernersville. Relate that for me.
Well, at the time I was on patrol, and I worked for two supervisors that have always facilitated like you wanting to grow as an officer and grow in your career and further career development, and they always encourage us to think. So in January of 21, our squad investigated a missing elderly person, or what we perceived to be a missing elderly person.
Right.
It was a residential alarm where when we got there, everything was in order. The front door was open. There was one car in the driveway. We entered the residence on exigence, not being able to get anybody. We needed to see if it was a B&E. You know, that house is nice. It seemed like one person lived there.
Right.
We were able to get a little bit out of call history, where we'd been there maybe once before, that kind of alluded to the fact that this person may be in the early stages of dementia.
Right.
No contact information to call somebody.
So you're flying blind on
Yeah,
this.
we ended up with like 4 patrol officers in a very residential, low crime area of town for a few hours looking for this person and trying to figure some stuff out. Communicators were digging around trying to find stuff where we thought someone might be associated. A couple hours later, we're knocking on doors. The whole time she was at her neighbor's house having lunch.
Yeah.
So,
But, you know, I think that it's an interesting thing that sort of spurred you on to say, hey, look, guys, we need to have this kind of a program set up. And it turns out to be Forsyth Cares, where we can have more information inputted, right?
Yeah, kind of what I thought about on that was, you know, if we can do something to just start to close that informational gap to where there are a significant amount of houses that we don't go to and we don't have history for, that this can happen.
Right. Now, you can. I'm sure there are a lot of examples of how the emergency services can, for lack of a better word, creatively use Forsyth Cares. What would be an example, do you think, of how they might be able to use it?
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time thinking about the numerous ways that we can get creative to use it to further success and really speed up that success of being that transparency. One thing that would be relative is we've had calls before, and I'm sure everybody in emergency services has, where there's an elderly person grocery shopping, but they've become confused and seem lost, and the grocery store calls us. Well, at the point the officer gets there, he tries to find her vehicle, or
Right.
his vehicle.
Right.
With Forsyth Cares, we'll be able to run the address associated to the registration to see if we can find up to 5 emergency contacts for that person.
I just think that's great, because not only are you going to have the information this person is in maybe early or mid stages of dementia, but here's where this person lives, here's the registration, here's the caregiver, and you're going to have all that stuff inputted, which is going to make a big difference in helping people and saving lives. And I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I mean, do you believe that when this system is up and running that it really will make a difference and can save lives and help people?
Yeah, I've personally done investigations where I've just had to make the best decision I can with the information that's provided. And that might be a hospital trip in an ambulance with a family that is on a limited or fixed income.
Right.
Where now they're going to get an ambulance bill, a hospital bill, where there could have been an emergency contact 2 miles down the road that was perfectly willing to tell me that this is normal. They'll handle it, they'll come, or they'll transport to the hospital if needed.
Yeah, we have just a few seconds left, but is there a screen or something that emergency services folks are going to be able to see when they need to call up something? I mean, what are they going to see? Right.
Map Forsyth, who we've partnered with, has created a dashboard where emergency services can log in and look and see the geotags that are dropped when citizens fill out the survey.
Right, exactly what Jason was talking about earlier, and I just think it's great. Well, I want to applaud you for the initiative and for doing something that's really going to make a difference. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
This is what too much sounds like. This is what stress feels like. And this is what help feels like. If you've lost a job, worry about your next meal, or have trouble making it through the day, we can help. Text STRESS to 211-211 to find a solution.
Back now for Forsyth County Connections. I mentioned earlier in the program we wanted to encourage folks to volunteer for various committees and commissions and boards. And following that theme, we have a very special guest who's a great volunteer herself. Sylvia Tyndall is a registered nurse, by the way. She's also chairwoman of the Forsyth County Nursing Home Advisory Committee, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What does your committee do, and what's the mission of it?
Our committee advocates for residents' rights for residents in nursing homes.
Right.
There's another committee for family care homes or rest homes, assisted livings too. But we advocate for residents' rights. There is a list of residents' rights. We want to make sure that the people who live in long-term care facilities, whether it's short for rehab or long stay, have the kind of environment where they can thrive.
And if I wanted to volunteer for your committee, for example, would I need to be a healthcare professional like yourself, and I need to be a nurse? Or?
Absolutely not. Although we do have a few nurses, we have had a social worker or two. Many people come from all different walks of life. Right now, one of our committee members is a professor of music.
Okay.
So
now, do you all ever go and forgive me because I haven't served on the committee, so I want to find out about it. Do you ever go and visit assisted living facilities and nursing homes and places just to sort of see what's going on?
We are mandated to visit at least 4 times a year in the 15 nursing homes in Forsyth County. We have subcommittees of our committee because it's such a big committee.
Well, what do you look for when you go over there?
We interview residents, we talk with families, we try to establish rapport with staff, with administrators. We want to see if the facility is the kind of place we would want to live, if it's clean, if their needs are met, if they have complaints of some kind. We can help try to solve those complaints if they allow us to.
And when you talk about solving them, would you then, I'm just trying to get an idea of the process, would you then take some information that's disturbing to you perhaps, or something that needs work, and send that on up to the county commissioners to look at, or what?
No, normally what we do is we have a report we have to fill out. Say, for instance, we have a feeling that this particular hallway is not as clean as it should be.
Okay.
We have an exit interview with someone there at the facility, usually the administrator, and we can make a general comment to that person. If our concern's enough, then we go to the ombudsman next. And the ombudsman, who is also in the facilities at least once a quarter, tries to see what the problem is and go from there. We have no regulatory responsibility at all. These facilities are state regulated.
Right.
but we have no regulatory
But that's
responsibility.
okay though, because you have an important function in trying to keep track of these things and advocate, as you said. Now, here's a personal question, why did you want to volunteer?
I was in long-term care for most of the 40 years of my nursing career. So elders and disabled people have a special place in my heart. And I felt like once I retired in 2012 that this was a way I could give back.
Now, Sylvia, what if somebody is watching this and say, you know, I'd like to maybe volunteer, but I don't know that I have a whole lot of time to volunteer. Is there a required amount of time that you need somebody to volunteer if they're on the committee?
There's an average time, I guess you could say, between 8, maybe 10, 20 hours every 3 months. That's all.
Okay.
We have 4 business meetings a year, and then we have the visits that we have to make.
Any vacancies on the committee?
Our committee can have up to 17 members, and right now we have 11.
Okay, well, right there, I don't have to say any more about that. We need volunteers.
We
So
do.
what do you say to somebody that might have a little bit of extra time? What do you say to encourage them?
Well, I say, first of all, we're not the only county committee that needs help.
Right?
Look to see where your interests lie, but if you have a particular interest in trying to do something for our elders, for our disabled, talk to the ombudsman. Look at going and applying to the county commissioners, because we have to be appointed by the county commissioners.
That's right, that's right.
And then get the training that's required. It's minimal training, but there is some training. And then join us. You get as much from it as you give to it.
Well, bless your heart. Is there a phone number or something? Do people email to you or to somebody if they want to volunteer? How does
They
that?
can go online to the county commissioner's site, and there is an application, but they can also call the regional ombudsman. The one for the North Carolina, or for our section, our region, is LaTanya Smith.
Okay.
And she's at the Piedmont Triad Regional Council Area on Aging in Kernersville. And the number there is 336-904-0300.
All right, Sylvia. Thanks for volunteering. Thanks for all you've done for so many people for so many years, and we appreciate the work that you're doing. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
Back now on Forsyth County Connections. Thanks for staying with us. Over the next little bit of time, we're going to talk about various commissions and committees and things that you can serve on. And one of the gentlemen that's going to help us understand that is with us right now, Andrew Applegate, who just happens to be president and CEO of Arbor Acres. He's also a member of the Forsyth County Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Council. It's a big title. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Give us a quick thing just before we get into the topic. Remind people what Arbor Acres is, who it serves, where it's located.
Sure. Arbor Acres is a continuing care retirement community or a life plan community that serves people 60 years of age and older. And it's located on Arbor Road, basically between Ronalda and the university.
All right. And very well known, great reputation out there.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to the topic now. Let's talk about advisory board that you're on. What's the mission of that board?
The Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Council is set up to take the money that is given to the county by the state in that block grant, and then that group then makes recommendations to the county commissioners on how those funds ought to be distributed. So,
Give me an example, not to put you on the spot, but an example of something you might advise the commissioners on, a specific example of where you think the money should go or how it should be used.
yeah, there's a lot, of course you can imagine there's a lot of rules and strings attached to that, but the councils can decide where to allocate that money amongst about 20 different approved programs. So that could range anything from information options counseling, so it's sort of like the 411. If you have a loved one who's an older adult, you just need to know what services are out there. You may not
Right.
even know what you have. But it can also do things like home care, transportation, and things like that.
Now, you also do the board also, the advisory board does some kind of monitoring. What's that about?
Yeah, what we do is we meet once a month, and in that meeting we look at each of the funded partners and we look at their spending. They give us a budget every year, and then we have to turn around and see, are they spending that money? Are they spending it efficiently and effectively? And then also, one thing we want to make sure is that those funds stay in the county. So if someone's underspending, then we start having conversations about, well, if you're not going to be able to spend that money for various legitimate reasons, then we will make recommendations to the county to reallocate those funds.
Now, how long have you served on the council?
I have served on the council since 2020.
Why did you decide to volunteer?
Well, actually, I decided to do it because I got a phone call. I had recently moved to Winston-Salem, didn't think I had much to offer at that point, but a friend of mine, a colleague who's pretty well connected, said I probably have something to contribute, so I decided to throw my hat in the ring.
That's great. Now, I'm kind of curious, what's the most rewarding thing to you, and what's the most challenging thing to you about being a member of this advisory committee?
I think probably the thing that is most rewarding is the fact that you're going to have an immediate impact on people's lives. We serve people who are primarily lower income, and so the idea of being able to make sure that they get resources they need, whether that's transportation or Meals on Wheels, things like that, knowing that that money is going to a good place.
Right.
I think on the challenging side, the thing that is difficult, there's always more need than there are funds. And so of those 20 different options of things we could fund, we generally have funds to maybe do about 5. And even those don't always fit the bill, doesn't pay the bill. So we have to make those decisions about which funds are going to go where.
The final thing, Andrew, is that part of what we want to do today is to encourage people to volunteer, because there are a whole bunch of committees, and as you know, advisory committees and councils and boards. What do you say to someone that says, I've got some extra time, I want to volunteer? What do you say to them?
I'd say do it. We can complain all we want about government, but there's an opportunity to jump in and have your voice heard and have an impact.
Yeah, because you're an individual and a business person, but at the same time, you're a taxpayer, you're a citizen, and you're sort of, we don't know that you're working behind the scenes, but you're there working for us.
I just encourage anyone who wants to get into something, go on the website and find one of the advisory groups that trips your trigger.
Lots of choices. Andrew Applegate, thanks for doing this.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
We'll be right back after this.
Every year, 4.5 million young adults between the ages of 18 and 24 visit the ER.
It's every parent's nightmare.
Umergency gives you all the tools you need to quickly and effectively manage your family's emergency. Umergency provides instant access to vital resources, customized to your student's campus and local community, digital consent form, and built-in urgent alert button. Umergency gives you peace of mind when you need it most. Download your Umergency app now.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see.
DEPR.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale. Bipolar? Sorting out a mental health concern takes professional diagnosis and treatment.
Anxiety. I thought so.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
Back now on the closing segment of Forsyth County Connections on this edition, and we spend it with a guest who's been here many times before, and he's always in the thick of things and helping to keep the county going and jobs coming in. Kyle Haney is with us, Forsyth County Director of Community and Economic Development. Welcome back.
Great to be back.
Now, I hope I don't mispronounce this. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but you sent me an email about a company named Ziehl-Abegg.
Perfect.
Now, what's this about? What's this announcement that's been made for Forsyth County?
Sure, I'm really excited to talk about this one. Ziehl-Abegg is a German manufacturer. They manufacture innovative industrial fan systems and motors, founded in 1910. And so they're a global company. They have a local manufacturing facility in Guilford County, but they announced they are going to move they're establish their North American headquarters here in Forsyth County, as well as a manufacturing facility.
Wow, the whole thing. Now, what's involved in recruiting a new company like that, and who's involved in the process? I mean, give us a little background, because we don't see this. This happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, so, all of these kind of develop a different way, but in every situation, we're working hand in glove with the Chamber of Commerce, Greater Winston-Salem Inc., as well as the state. as partners to bring these companies here. So in this project, the company reached out to Gray Winslow Inc. They told them how amazing our county was, helped them find a location, and then brought us and the city in to discuss incentives.
Yeah, now let's pinpoint something about this incentives, because folks that are residents, that are taxpayers trying to make ends meet, and they read in the newspaper, so-and-so company's getting incentives. Now in the case of Ziehl-Abegg, what kind of incentives are they getting from the county, and are taxpayers going to foot the bill?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a really important part to clarify. So in these situations, this is not taxes that we already have. This is the taxes that this company is going to create. So they're coming in, they're building a new facility, they're going to pay taxes on that, and the commissioners approved $430,000 in incentives over a 5-year period. It's important to know they're going to pay those taxes, and then after they've paid those taxes, we will pay those back. But it's 5 years, $430,000, but we expect over a 10-year period, it's going to be over $1.8 million created new tax revenue.
That they bring in.
That's right.
Wow. And that's going to help everything, people with spendable income and jobs and everything else. I mean, so just so folks at home will know, I mean, you're just not going to sit there and write a check for $400 and some thousand. I mean, this is going to go incrementally, right?
That's right. And so it'll happen over time. We see this as a partnership with this company. We're offering them incentives, but we want to help them succeed. We want them to get those incentives because we want them to create those jobs and create that investment. So we're going to keep up with them. We're going to have regular conversations with them, make sure that they're successful, and really build that relationship.
Now let me put you on the spot a minute. Do you happen to know an estimate of how many jobs you think that they will create and what kind of salary range, or do you have any of that information yet?
So they have agreed to create 303 jobs here, and that's over a 5-year period. Some of those are going to be existing jobs moving over from Guilford. But what the company's told us is they actually plan to create 500 or more jobs in a very quick period of time. And so, we are really excited about that. Average wage, $60,000 a year.
Wow. Now, once this gets up and running, how will people know how and when they can apply for some of these jobs?
Absolutely. So one of the great things about these incentives is they pledge a certain amount of jobs each year. So we know when they're going to be creating these jobs, and we're going to we're going to work hard to get that information out to the public. Obviously, they can go to the company's website and see what jobs are available, but we're going to have some things rolling out where they can come to our website and see what's available as well.
I think that's great. Yeah. Before time runs out, let me ask you: are there any other big economic development projects that you can mention or tease us with, or whatever? I mean, I know this stuff has to be confidential to a certain point, but anything else coming up?
Yeah, we've seen tremendous interest here in this community. We've got 2 projects that tomorrow, which will be December 1st, the commissioners are going to vote on with 2 new economic development announcements, and then a number of projects that we expect to come in the next 3 or 4 months.
All right, thanks for doing that. We appreciate you being here. And let me just wrap up by thanking everybody. Of course, TJ and Kevin, everybody on the crew here at Cable 2. They make us feel very welcome. And overall, thanks to the Winston-Salem Forsyth County School System for that. Tracy Doyle, who helps put the show together, to Ed McNeil, and Dudley Watts, our county manager, who's the executive producer. And we always like to mention, because you see this screen up behind us the whole way, connect with .forsythcountync.gov. Lots of good information there. You can see some of the episodes from this there as well. I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next time.